Stop scrolling. If you receive Social Security, or know someone who does, the next 60 seconds could save your payments. The SSA just issued a warning that millions of Americans are at serious risk of having their Social Security payments frozen in 2026, and the reason will shock you. It comes down to one email, one letter, one notification you may have already ignored, sitting right in your inbox or mailbox right now. Here's what's happening. The Social Security Administration is in the middle of a massive system and identity verification overhaul. They are requiring beneficiaries to confirm their information through new digital channels. And if you miss that window, your payments could be suspended, just like that. No warning, no second chance. We're talking about retirement benefits, disability payments, survivor benefits, all of it, potentially frozen while you scramble to figure out what went wrong. And here's the scary part. Most people have no idea this is coming. They think their direct deposit is automatic. They think they're safe. They're not watching for the notification that changes everything. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what to look for, what steps to take right now, and how to make sure your payments never stop. This information is 100% free, but only if you watch until the end. If you want to protect your Social Security in 2026, hit that like button right now so YouTube keeps pushing this to the people who need it most. Let's get started. All right, so let's get right into this because what's happening with Social Security in 2026 is something that every single beneficiary in America needs to understand before it's too late. This isn't fear-mongering. This isn't clickbait. This is real. It's documented. And the Social Security Administration has been sending out communications about it. But the problem is, most people either aren't seeing those communications, don't understand what they mean, or are simply assuming it doesn't apply to them. And that assumption could cost you everything. Let's start from the beginning, so you have the full picture. Social Security has been around since 1935. For nearly a century, it has been the financial backbone for tens of millions of Americans, retirees, disabled individuals, widows, widowers, and children who depend on survivor benefits. It is for many people not just a supplement to their income, it is their income. The average Social Security retirement benefit right now sits at just over $1,900 a month. For millions of Americans, that's what keeps the lights on. That's what puts food on the table. That's what covers the Medicare premiums, the prescriptions, the rent. So when we talk about the possibility of those payments being frozen or suspended, we're not talking about an inconvenience. We're talking about a financial crisis in someone's life. Now here's what's actually happening. The Social Security Administration has been undergoing one of its most significant administrative overhauls in decades. Part of this is driven by modernization efforts, moving away from outdated paper-based systems toward digital infrastructure. Part of it is being driven by policy changes and budget restructuring that has been unfolding over the past couple of years. And part of it is tied to an identity verification push that is affecting beneficiaries across the country. The SSA has been transitioning to a system that requires beneficiaries to verify their identity and confirm their information through updated channels, including online through their My Social Security account, through the SSA's updated communication system, and in some cases through direct correspondence that requires a response. This is where the email, the letter, the notification comes in. And this is where people are falling through the cracks in alarming numbers. Here's what's been happening on the ground. People are receiving notices from the SSA, sometimes by email if they've registered an email with their My Social Security account, sometimes by mail to their address on file, sometimes through their online portal. And they are either missing these notices entirely, or they're seeing them and assuming they're spam, phishing attempts, or something that doesn't require urgent action. But these notices are real. And when a beneficiary fails to respond or take action within the designated timeframe, the SSA has the administrative authority to flag that account, suspend verification, and in some cases, freeze or withhold payments until the issue is resolved. Now let's talk about something that a lot of people don't realize about the SSA's internal processes. The Social Security Administration operates on what is essentially a massive database of beneficiary records. Every single person receiving benefits has a file. It contains your personal information, your earnings history, your banking details for direct deposit, your contact information, and your eligibility status. When the SSA initiates a verification sweep or an update requirement, they send out notices to the addresses and contact information they have on file. And here's the critical problem. Millions of Americans have outdated information on file with the SSA. Think about how many times you've moved in the last 10 years. Think about how many email addresses you've had. Think about whether you've ever actually logged into your My Social Security account and confirmed that every single piece of your personal information is current and accurate. For a huge portion of beneficiaries, especially older Americans who may not be as digitally active, the contact information the SSA has is old, incorrect, or incomplete. So when the SSA sends out a verification notice, it goes to an address where that person no longer lives, or an email account they haven't checked in years, and the clock starts ticking. And the person who needed that notice, they never received it. This is not a hypothetical scenario. Reports from SSA field offices and advocacy organizations have confirmed that beneficiaries have had payments delayed, frozen, or interrupted because of failed communications in exactly this way. It happens more than the public realizes. And in 2026, with the scale of the administrative changes being implemented, the risk of this happening to more people is genuinely elevated. So, what exactly triggered this 2026 wave of concern? A few things have converged at the same time to create what experts are calling a perfect storm for Social Security disruption. First, there are the ongoing staffing reductions at the SSA. The agency has seen significant workforce cuts, which means fewer people are available to process inquiries, resolve disputes, and assist beneficiaries who run into problems. When you have a leaner staff handling the same or greater volume of cases, things slow down, mistakes happen, and the burden shifts more heavily onto the individual beneficiary to manage their own account proactively. Second, there is the push toward mandatory online verification. The SSA has been moving toward requiring beneficiaries to either verify their identity online through login.gov or id.me, or to appear in person at an SSA field office. For younger beneficiaries or those who are tech-savvy, this isn't a big deal. But for elderly Americans, many of whom are in their 70s, 80s, or even 90s, navigating a digital identity verification system is a real barrier. And if they don't complete that verification by the required deadline, their account status can be affected. Third, there is the broader policy uncertainty surrounding Social Security funding that has been making headlines. While this is a separate issue from the administrative verification changes, the two things together have created an environment where beneficiaries are anxious, confused, and in many cases not sure what they're supposed to do or who to trust. Scammers have taken full advantage of this confusion, which actually makes it even harder for people to respond appropriately when they receive a legitimate SSA communication, because so many people have been conditioned to assume any Social Security-related communication they receive is a scam. And that last point is incredibly important and incredibly tragic. The rise of Social Security scams over the past several years has been staggering. The FTC has reported that Social Security impersonation scams cost Americans hundreds of millions of dollars every year. People receive calls, emails, and texts from scammers claiming to be from the SSA, telling them their Social Security number has been suspended or their account has been compromised. As a result, many Americans have developed a healthy skepticism toward any unexpected Social Security communication, which is actually good instinct in general, but it creates a dangerous situation when a real and legitimate notice gets dismissed because it looks like it could be spam. So, how do you tell the difference between a real SSA communication and a scam? This is one of the most important things you can take away from this video. The SSA will never call you and demand immediate payment or personal information over the phone. They will never threaten you with arrest or legal action over the phone. They will never ask you to pay in gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency. If you receive a call like that, hang up. It is a scam, 100% of the time, no exceptions. Legitimate SSA communications will typically come in the form of official mail sent to your address on record, or through notifications within your My Social Security online account. If you receive a letter from the SSA in the mail, on official SSA letterhead, with a return address from the Social Security Administration, that is likely real and should not be ignored. If you receive a notification inside your My Social Security portal when you log in, that is real. The SSA does sometimes send emails, but those emails will always direct you to log into your My Social Security account to take action. They will never ask you to click a link and enter your Social Security number directly into an email response. Keep those distinctions in mind, and you'll be able to navigate this much more safely. Now let's talk about what you actually need to do right now to protect yourself and anyone you know who receives Social Security benefits. The single most important thing you can do today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, is go to ssa.gov and either log into your existing My Social Security account or create one if you don't have one yet. This is your command center. This is where you can see your benefit information, update your contact details, check for any pending notices or required actions, and verify that your direct deposit information is correct. Every single piece of information in that account needs to be current and accurate. Your address, your phone number, your email address, your bank account information, all of it needs to match your real current information. While you're in there, look for any messages or alerts that might be waiting for you. The SSA uses the messaging feature inside the portal to communicate with beneficiaries, and a lot of people never check it because they don't even know it exists. If there's a message in there telling you that you need to take some kind of action, verify your identity, confirm your information, respond to a notice, take it seriously, and act on it as quickly as possible. If you don't have easy access to a computer or smartphone, ask a trusted family member or friend to help you. This is not something to put off. The stakes are too high. If you have elderly parents or grandparents who receive Social Security, please sit down with them and walk through this process together. Make sure their information is up to date. Make sure they know what to look for. Make sure they haven't received any letters from the SSA that have been sitting on a kitchen counter unopened. You could be saving them from a payment interruption that creates a genuine financial crisis in their life. Now let's talk about what happens if your payments do get suspended or frozen. Because even if you do everything right, there's always a possibility that something falls through the cracks, especially during a period of administrative transition like the one we're in right now. If you notice that a Social Security payment you were expecting has not arrived, the first thing you should do is wait a couple of business days, because occasionally payments are delayed by a day or two due to banking processing times or federal holidays. But if it's been more than 3 business days past your expected payment date and the money hasn't arrived, it's time to take action. Call the SSA directly at their official number, which is 1-800-772-1213. Be prepared for potentially long wait times. With reduced staffing, hold times have increased significantly. If you can, try calling early in the morning when wait times tend to be shorter. When you get through, explain the situation clearly and ask them to look into your account. Have your Social Security number ready, along with any recent correspondence you may have received from the SSA. You can also visit your local SSA field office in person. This can sometimes be faster than trying to resolve issues over the phone, particularly for identity verification issues that require you to present documentation. Bring a government-issued photo ID, your Social Security card if you have it, proof of your address, and any correspondence you've received from the SSA. The staff at the field office can often see exactly what's happening with your account and tell you what steps you need to take to get things resolved. If you've been unable to get a resolution through the SSA directly, another avenue available to you is to contact your U.S. Representative's office or your U.S. Senator's office. Congressional representatives have casework staff specifically dedicated to helping constituents navigate federal agency issues, including problems with the SSA. Many people don't know this option exists, but it's genuinely effective. A call from a congressional office to the SSA can sometimes cut through red tape and get an issue resolved much faster than going through normal channels. There's one more group of people we need to talk about specifically, and that's individuals who receive Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. If you're on SSDI, you are in some ways even more vulnerable to payment disruptions than retirement beneficiaries, because for most SSDI recipients, these payments represent their only source of income, and their financial margin is already razor thin. SSDI recipients are also subject to continuing disability reviews, periodic check-ins where the SSA evaluates whether you still meet the criteria for disability benefits. If you've received a notice that a continuing disability review has been initiated, responding to that notice promptly and completely is absolutely critical. Failing to respond can result in a cessation of benefits that can take months or even years to reverse through the appeals process. And speaking of the appeals process, if the SSA makes a decision about your benefits that you disagree with, whether it's a suspension, a reduction, or a denial, you have the right to appeal. You must file your appeal within 60 days of receiving the notice of the decision. This is non-negotiable. Miss that 60-day window and you lose your appeal rights. The appeal process has multiple levels, starting with a reconsideration request and potentially going all the way to a hearing before an administrative law judge. The process can be slow, but it exists and it works. If you find yourself in that situation, consulting with a Social Security attorney or advocate can be extremely helpful. Many of them work on a contingency basis and only get paid if you win your case. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture here, because understanding the context of what's happening to Social Security right now matters for how you think about your long-term financial planning. Social Security has been a hot-button political issue for decades, and in recent years the debates around it have intensified. There are real conversations happening in Washington about the long-term solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund, about potential benefit adjustments, about the retirement age, and about how the program will be structured for future generations. None of these policy debates are resolved, and none of them should be causing you to panic, but they should be motivating you to stay informed and engaged. The best thing any current or near future Social Security beneficiary can do is stay proactive. Know your expected benefit amount. Know when you're eligible to claim. If you haven't yet claimed benefits, understand the implications of claiming at 62 versus waiting until your full retirement age versus waiting until 70. The difference in your monthly benefit amount between claiming at 62 and waiting until 70 can be as much as 76%. And for people who live into their 80s and 90s, that difference adds up to tens of thousands of dollars over the course of their retirement. If you're already receiving benefits, make sure you are taking advantage of every protection and resource available to you. If your income situation has changed, if you're facing financial hardship, if you have questions about Medicare coordination, or if you think you might be eligible for additional programs like supplemental security income or the extra help program for prescription drug costs, reach out to the SSA or to a benefits counselor who can help you navigate all of your options. The bottom line here is this: Social Security is too important to leave to chance. The administrative changes happening in 2026 are real. The risk of payment disruptions for people who aren't paying attention is real, and the consequences of a missed payment for someone who depends on that income to survive are devastating. But here's the good news: this is entirely preventable. If you take action today, if you log into your My Social Security account, if you verify your information, if you check for any pending notices, and if you stay alert and responsive to any communications from the SSA going forward, you dramatically reduce your risk of ever experiencing a payment disruption. Share this video with your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, your friends. Print out the key steps and leave them somewhere visible for someone who needs a reminder, because this is one of those situations where being informed and being proactive is the difference between everything being fine and everything falling apart at the worst possible moment. You now have the information you need. Use it, act on it, and pass it on.